Well, I went. So I went live 5 minutes before I intended to, before I started posting. Actually, uh, I was editing the go live notification in Discord. Oh, I should do one on Blue Sky. Follow me on Blue Sky. I post almost nothing there. Um, I was I was editing it, and then I hit enter by mistake, and it posted. Because of course it did, because I hit enter. Um, and then I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm live now. And then I just smashed everything. So that was awkward. I hadn't even done the camera up yet. Hi, MJ, you made it. You're first. Congratulations. And Glacier, happy lurking. You're not first. Congratulations. Let me switch stuff around here. Hi, get on in here. We are doing a thing today. Ren. Let me shout out Ren. Hold on, let me shout at Ren. Shout at whimsical Ren. Boop. Get shouted at. Hi, welcome in. We are doing a thing. I found some picanha steaks in the bargain bin. There were 4 of them, and I got all 4 of them. And the ones we're not using today are over here. This is what they look like. Vacuumed and not quite frozen because they haven't been there that long, but this is what they look like. So it's got some decent marbling through the middle, but it's got this big fat cap on the top. I like it. It's like a more budget-friendly version of a New York strip. It comes from the top, called a sirloin cap. It's like this big triangular shaped muscle that's at the back end of the cow, sort of on the end where the sirloin is. And they cut it into these little steaks, and it's very popular in Brazil, Argentina. That's sort of why it has a very Latin American sounding name. I don't know if it's Portuguese or Spanish, but it's got that kind of cadence to it. Picanha. Oh, well, get him in the pool. Throw him in. Chuck him in head first. So the ones that we are not using are in the process of being frozen. The one we are using is the massivest, thickest of the bunch. And I put it on here and I salted it 3 sides, that side, the bottom side, and the non-fat side here. This one has an enormous fat cap chunk. I might even trim that back, it's so big, because I'm worried it won't render very well. This also had a lid on it to keep it protected from the fridge, which means it's not actually dried out as much as it would be if I just had it in there exposed, which would be better if I actually did, but I want to put stuff on top of it. It takes up a lot of room in my fridge. My fridge is kind of crowded. So this is the one we're using. It's gone a little bit less bright red as it's been sitting there, but that's fine. And all it's on it right now is salt. So we might end up trimming that bit back a little bit, and I don't know, render out the fat or something. This might be a little questionable, but I used this pan yesterday. So what's in there right now is actually beef fat. So I'm going to not clean that out, and we're going to fry stuff in that beef fat to double beef fat our thing. So that's a thing we're doing. It's a thing we're doing. So before anyone asks about what the what's that in your pan there, that's some already rendered beef fat from a previous cook that I mean, as of last night. So it's been there for less than 24 hours, and it hardened up. So we're just going to use that. And then I'll clean it out after today, because then I won't have another bit. Like I said, there were 4 of them, and I ate one yesterday as a test run, which is where that fat came from. So I do know a couple things. Which is why I think I want to trim this thing off, because the one I made yesterday, I left the big fat cap on it, and it really had a hard time rendering, and it was really chewy, and I ended up cutting it off after it was cooked, part of it off, and throwing it away because it was too chewy for me. I don't like a really chewy piece. The steak part was really good. I also discovered that these massively thick ones get pretty rare in the middle, so I guess we'll watch for that as well. This guy's gonna rest out here, and sort of hopefully the surface will dry out a little bit, and it will warm up a little bit while we're doing a couple other things. I am gonna try something I've never done before with this one, and that is reverse sear. Hold on, let me adjust my stove cam real quick. I wasn't paying attention. I tried to do a reverse sear, which I've never done before. That is where you put it in the oven and you bring up the internal temperature. You put it in the oven on a relatively low temp. Make sure there's nothing in there. Which in this case I'm going to put it to 250. And you bring it up until the internal temperature is just a little short of where you end up wanting it to be. So we're gonna shoot for about 120. And then you take it out, let it rest a bit, and then you sear it in a screaming hot pan just to get the crust to form. Mish! Hello, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. I've never done this before. I don't like a rare steak. I like a medium rare steak. This one in particular, because it has some of that marbling in there, we don't want it to be super rare because we want that fat in there to have a chance to kind of render out. But not completely render out because we want it to hydrate. So I think medium rare is a good target. If you cooked this one well done, you'd have a piece of ruined meat. Yeah, so that's the plan. That's the plan with this thing. It's going to sit here on the side until we do something else with it. This is kohlrabi. This was grown by one of my friends, given to me, and I'm going to eat it today. Flamingo, hello. Let me shout at Flamingo for a sec. Kohlrabi, if you're not familiar, is one of those many plants that are the same plant. This is yet another variety of cabbage. This is the one that has been bred for the stem. This is a stem that goes, swells up. And then the leaves all come off where these like scale-shaped things are. So it tastes a lot like broccoli stem. And my idea for it today is I want to shred it and make like a quick pickle salad out of it. Some carrots and some red onions. That sounds good. That sounds good to me. Especially since I'm having a big piece of fatty meat. I want something light and fresh and crunchy and acidic to go with it to balance out the plate. And then I've got maybe disaster. We got a mixed bag of veggies, and in the mixed bag of veggies was this real gnarly looking potato. Also in that mixed bag of veggies was a much less gnarly looking potato. So I'm not out of luck. I've got this one, which is enormous. It's longer than my hand by almost half. It's gigantic. Um, that one I'm very confident will be good on the inside. This one is pretty gnarly, so I want to use this one first if we can. And if we can't, then I'll probably use half of this big guy. But this thing is just gigantic. Probably why it was in the bargain bin, because they threw it in one of those mixed veggie things. And nobody wanted to buy it as a single sweet potato because it is so freaking gigantic. So anyways, the plan is meat and 2 veg, right? Classic combo. And yeah, so kind of basic stuff. The experiment today, the learning process today is the reverse sear. I want to not have this piece of meat be all dried out, cooked through, but I want to give it a good chance to render some of that fat cap. Ren's growing potatoes this year. Looking forward to potatoes. I have never grown potatoes myself. I don't really have the land for gardening on that level. I grow herbs. Speaking of herbs, we should maybe throw some herbs in this. What have I got? What's ready to go? Basil, shiso, sage. A lot of scallions. A couple of weeds. Mint. Ooh, mint. If I had more land, potatoes are one of the things I would definitely be putting in. Potatoes and tomatoes and peppers and those sort of basic things. So yeah, that's the plan. We're gonna let the oven get hot. We're gonna we'll start with the kohlrabi because the thing I want to do with it requires it to be salted. Where's my peeler? Peeler. I need to organize this drawer. I keep losing stuff. I lose stuff way more often than I used to in this drawer of all my stuff. We also want a knife. And a board. Okay, so, oh. And a knife. I'm gonna do this without hitting my camera because you guys are right there. And if I catch the camera, got it. Got it. So you can kind of see the way it pulled away. There's these fibers that run lengthwise around the outside of the kohlrabi, and they bundle together into this hard stem, which is what I had a hard time getting through. But in the middle, in between the fibers, is this nice sort of clean, tender thing. So what we want to do is get all that fibrous bit off, because I've made the mistake of trying to eat that before, and it super does not work. And I've also made the mistake of trying to peel these guys with a peeler before. But I want to be careful. I got the peeler out because we're going to clean it up. After I take off the outside with a knife. Which is what I have now declared is what I intended all along, but really, I was kind of intending to use the peeler from the start. Until it was very, very difficult, and then I changed that mind. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to tell where the tender stuff is, because the knife struggles with these fibers, but it goes right through the tender bits, so you can just feel it out with the knife. Hi, Bob. You don't think this wants to be eaten? I don't think anything wants to be eaten. I suppose fruit wants to be eaten, but nothing else. Okay. Those are our fiber bits taken care of. And then we just clean up the edges with the thing. Anywhere that it looks like I can still see a little bit of that fiber. There. That's our vegetable. Vegetabled. And yeah, all this part gets thrown away. Kohlrabi is one of those vegetables. Kohlrabi is one of those vegetables that is probably not eaten nearly as much because of the work it takes to get into it. I've noticed a bunch of that. There's a lot of these sort of starchy things that are tasty and popular in their own cuisines and don't go very far in the wider world because they immediately have to compete with the standard potato when they do. And potatoes are just so much easier to use than all the rest of these guys. Mish gifting a sub to Bob when Mish himself does not have a sub. This is a bizarre situation. Hi, Bookwoman. I understand that they're supposed to have a core, but the core doesn't seem super hard on this one. Guess we'll find out when we get in there. I want to shred it. I want to shred that guy. That's the plan. Should use the most horrifying device of them all, if I can find it, and not jam my hand into it while finding it. This one. This thing. This thing freaking scares me every time we use it. It is a toothed Y peeler. Maybe I should use the mandolin. Maybe I should use the mandolin. The mandolin scares me way less than this thing. This is good for long, narrow things like zucchinis and cucumbers and carrots. I feel like I'm just going to jam this into my fingers over and over again if I do it with this thing. I think I'm going to head off my own risk there. I don't feel like bleeding today. get out the mandolin. We're getting out the mandolin. Suppose if we're getting out the mandolin, then we can use it for everything, and I can put this away. This thing terrifies me. This thing terrifies me. I have used it. The things it does are amazing. It makes these perfect shreds of like carrots, long, skinny things. Shreds them just beautifully. But yeah, it's also a nightmare to clean. Okay. Unlock, fold the thing open, grab out a similar nightmare. Lock it in place. Get out a catching plate. Oh, and the where's the thing? The thing. This is the reason that I'm less scared of the mandolin than of the other peeler, because this one has a hand guard. Because the mandolin has a hand guard. Okay. I guess we need at least 2 strokes to see what this can do. No, it's not catching. No, it's definitely cutting. Where's it going when it cuts? Oh. It's forming little chips. Instead of shreds. That's why I wasn't finding them. They might be too shreddy. They might be a little bit too shreddy. What if we go for that one? That one's terrifying. Will it oxidize? I don't know. That's a good question. A good question for which I have no answer. We'll find out together. Try a couple more slashes of that. See what it do. These are more like fry pieces. Yeah, I think I can work with that. We'll have some shreddy ones and some sort of big chunkers. Yeah, that's the plan. I'll take this down 1 notch, and then I'm going to just do the rest of this like so. Oops. Came right off the thing. I see. Going back to the top doesn't work as well. Oops. That was my head. My head hit the thing. Yeah. They're not little strands, but they're decent. And we'll just kind of pull the last bit apart. Yeah, it does need firm strokes, and you can't, like normally when I'm just slicing something, like with the standard blade, you can go up and down on it because the blade obviously only points one direction. But with the little teeth, you can't go back up because they're not sharpened on the bottom edge. They're sharpened on the top edge, so they kind of interrupt the vegetable as it goes back up the other way. And you do need firm strokes because you need to press down a little bit because you need to make sure that the top plate on this side is pushing down fully so that there's actually a gap between the blade. If you push really gently, it does not. Ren is going to bed. Good to see you, Ren. I understand you're in the old Europe. Increasingly, people have been saying, "Oh, I'd love to watch you more, but you're on after I go to bed." Which I tried earlier streams before and nobody turned up, so maybe it's time to try again. Anyways, either way, take care, Ren. Good to see you. Glad to see you. Whoa! Well, that blade put some gashes in the handguard, that's for sure. That's a thing that happened. Okay. There's some skinnier shreds, but mostly sort of thicker shreds. I already want a bigger bowl. I already want a bigger bowl. I guess that's on me for selecting a small bowl. Oh well. So, kohlrabi, to which I will be adding carrot. Mostly for color. Ah, that carrot. That carrot. Because that one's a little bit sprouty. We will take the little sprouty top off, and we will, I'm just going to do this with the knife, gently scrape away the root bits. I don't want root bits in my finished salad. But scraping with the edge of a knife Takes off way less than scraping with the peeler. Whoa, 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 what's happening? Oh my God, I stepped away. I did a thing. I walked away. Something's happening. Oh my God. King. Argaroth. Argy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Gotta scroll up, gotta scroll up, gotta scroll up. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, Raiders. Hi. What is going on? Welcome to the stream. We just got through the most dangerous bit of the day. No, that's a lie. We're going into the most dangerous bit of the day because we're going to start using this thing, the most dangerous tool in my arsenal. So you're just in time for that. Oh my God, I've got my scroll paused. I can't see what anyone's saying. Welcome, Raiders. If you're not familiar with me, you can call me Jovial. You can call me Jovian. You can call me Hey You. You can call me Jojo. Oh my God, there's so many of you. Let's see who's all here. Ren. Oh well, Ren was already here. Modulol, Michael, Bishop, another Bob, Lord Spuddington, Townie, Dark Steel Spork, Night Eyes, the king himself, Trip, Soft, hi, welcome. I already introduced my name. We cook around here. We're doing that now. If we slide over, we've got a kohlrabi we just shredded up. We're gonna do this piece of meat here, and we've got the kind of creepy looking potato that we're gonna deal with. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Some Argy. Thank you so much for bringing your peeps over here. What was going on today? You were playing a game. I saw it briefly. I saw it momentarily. You were playing the game about digging a hole. That is correct. How far down the hole did you get? Okay, so yes, this is like a julienne peeler. It has a row of little razors that stick out at a 90-degree angle to the main blade. So there's just exposed blades sticking out. And unlike the mandolin, which we just got through using, the mandolin comes with this handy dandy guard so that you never put your fingers in the blades. This thing does not. Oh, concentrate. You're right. I should be concentrating. Bang. By shouting out fellow streamers. What they do is this. And then they give you these little shreds. So like I said before, the thing they do really well. They're just kind of terrifying. I am pulling it away from my holding hand to try to mitigate the damage it could do. I'm not very good at getting a nice even julienne. Um, so for something like this, where I want the pieces to be thin and regular, I could achieve it, but it would be slow. Whereas with this thing, I can do it very, very quickly. And much more evenly. But yes, always aim the blade. You should always aim all blades away from you, but especially something like this, these little horror shows, which is nice that it's a Y because then you can hold it like that and do a sort of a pulling motion. Whereas for like this one, it's more of a stroke. This one it's a pull, so I can ensure that it is going directly away from me. And the only real downside is that you end up with this little core of your vegetable that doesn't want to shred. Okay, we did not injure ourselves. This is great for these long, narrow things. I've used this for carrots. I've used this for zucchini. I've used this for cucumber. Those are the kind of things that this excels at. Sort of a long thing where you want lengthwise shreds. Glad I didn't use that on the kohlrabi. We got a little bit of extra stuff there. Oh, boy, I'm really bad at dealing with squeak. I'm really bad at dealing with raids, aren't I? I'm always caught completely off guard, every single time. Like, absolutely never expecting it. Have no preparations. Red onion is the third component here. Ooh, red onion that's looking a little gnarly. That's fine, that's fine. We will just take an extra layer off the outside. The inside should be fine. Yeah. So that onions, fortunately, usually kind of go off. Oh, no, we're going to take another layer off. They kind of go off by layer. So usually you can just take a layer off, and the layers underneath said layer that you've removed should be fine. It's very rare that I've found an onion where they went off and just like went right through it. Yeah, that one's fine. So our onion has become very small, but that's fine. I actually didn't want that much onion anyways. Onions do have layers, but some other layered things, the layers kind of play with each other too much. Onions, the layers all want to be separate things. And for this, because the layers will separate, I just want to thinly shave it. Heck, that even might be all the onion I want. Yeah, I don't think we're going to cut the other half of that onion, even though I've lost a lot of it, because I don't need that much more onion. Onion's not the main event in this. Parfait also have layers, and if a parfait starts to go bad, it slices right through all the layers and spoils the whole thing in one go. So excellent example as to how parfaits, despite being layered, are significantly different than onions and ogres. Let's put all the blades over there and the board out of the way. So the reason I wanted to do this first is because I want to salt the whole shebang here and really kind of knead the salt into it. Because I want this stuff to be slightly wilty. We are going to rinse any salt off toward the end, so we can add. Who leaves a parfait just laying about? You know, monsters, ogres. Oh, didn't see you there, Tawny. So, we are starting with salt to get these things to wilt a little bit. We'll revisit them in just a little while. I'm going to set them to the side, rinse my hands off. Clean up some carrot juice by the looks of it. A lot of orange smears around here. Oh, okay. In the time that took us, the oven has gotten hot and also already gotten cold, cycled, and gotten hot again. So, it is time to put this guy in. He has already been salted. Where's this one? In order to ensure that I don't overshoot and ruin my nice piece of meat here, we're going to use the probe. Oh, he's got ridges from sitting on that grating. We want the probe to be like right in the middle, right about there. Which I think and hopefully the fat cap side will render nicely while we're doing this, and we won't have to. King, if you need to go to bed, don't let me keep you up. I know that was why Ren was leaving as well. It's late in the old England. If you're not familiar with, if you were already here and you're not familiar with King, Mr. Argaroth, go give him a follow. Check him out. He streams much earlier in the day and ends around this time. Plays games. Also, I'm not sure what the regularity is, but I've definitely seen him do things like IRL game shows and other like wide variety. Major streamer here on the old Twitch.tv. I also don't want this to be on the grating when I cook it, because it'll stick to the grating. So we should. We're going to use the little tiny tray and a little bit of parchment. MJ is also heading off. I see. We're losing everyone to the ravages of sleep. Well, good night. Good to see you. Congratulations, MJ, for being first. We're just doing that. That's how that works. This doesn't need to be anything particularly special. I just really don't want it to stick. And it's not going to be in there massively long. Wash my hands again. Wash your hands a lot when you're dealing with raw meats, of course. So, this guy nope, not timer, cook. Tells us the internal temperature of our piece of meat, which is currently 12 degrees C, 54 degrees Fahrenheit. I have had it out since a little bit before we started to try to bring it up to a more reasonable temperature because it was in the fridge. It was fridge cold. And a rare steak is just at 125, so I'm going to take that down to 120, which is 49C or 50C. And that's going to be our target temperature. That's going to be our target temperature for when we take the thing out. I'm going to take it down. We're going to go 49. Because I don't want to overcook the interior, but I'm shooting for a medium rare finish after we sear it. And this thing, if you've never seen one of these before, it's just a probe thermometer with a heat-proof cord so that this guy can stay outside the oven. That guy can go in the oven with the meat, and we can watch the temperature go. And it'll beep at me when the temperatures match. So that's what we're doing. I'm hoping that a sort of slow heating process over here. You will not be able to see much of anything because it's going inside the oven. A slow heating process will help the fat start to render. That would be nice. Otherwise, that's what we're working with. Yeah. On to other things. We are going to have to now find out. I do not have an oven cam. I wish I had an oven cam. There are things that I would like to set up that I cannot do. My oven doesn't even have a window. I couldn't put an oven cam there if I wanted to. It's just a sheet of metal. Because it's an old-ass oven. There are definitely things I would like to set up. Oven cam is one of them that are not feasible with my current in my current situation. We're going to find out. It's already gone up a degree. We're going to find out if this thing is at all usable inside of there by cutting it clean in half right up the middle. Yeah, it's fine. This is the good job for the other peeler, the old-fashioned one here. We'll just peel away anything that doesn't look great. Ooh, it's real dry on the outside. That's why it looks so gnarly. We might have to use the knife. That's why it looks so gnarly on the outside. The outer skin has dried out. Still bright orange when you get past the dry part, but the dry part means that the peeler blade won't bite into it very well. Yep. Little spot there we can get rid of. Not entirely sure what I want to do with the potato yet. Yeah, I mean, this is why it was in the mixed vegetable bargain bin. I got a bag of vegetables, including both of these potatoes and a bunch of other stuff, for $1. So, I wouldn't have paid full price for this potato, all dried out like this, but for it being a small fraction of a thing that collectively cost $1, I'm good. $1. This one will start to oxidize. So those brown spots are forming very, very quickly. And you can cut them away, but they will keep reforming. Oh yeah, this is just way easier to do this with a knife. Oh well, sorry, standard peeler. You never got to do anything today. Wow, that oxidizes fast. So, I haven't asked this yet, and we got rated, and so I should have asked everybody else. How's it going? What's going on? What's for dinner? This end is even gnarlier than the other end. Or breakfast, depending on your time zone. We've had a lot of people who are going to bed, which suggests they've already had their dinners. That bit might just be better if I kind of lop it off. Yeah, just going to lop that bit off instead of trying to dig it out. Trip is having falafel salad. What else was in the dollar bag? It was a whole bunch of stuff. There was a big red onion, a big white onion, some regular potatoes. It was a lot of roots. Let's see. It was the two sweet potatoes, the giant one and the one we just cut up. Some regular like baking potatoes. This white onion and a similarly sized red onion. I'm trying to think what else was in there. I think that one was all roots, and then there was a second one that had 2 limes, 2 lemons, 4 avocados, random mixed tomatoes, and some chili peppers. It was just like, here's a salsa bag, here's a bunch of storage roots bag, and we've gone through most of everything. I've got a lemon and a couple tomatoes left from one side. I've got that white onion and these 2 sweet potatoes left from this one. So I didn't get these today. These are sort of, which is why let's try it out a little bit as well. But yeah, it was a bunch of weird mix, which is not usually what I see. Usually they're clearing out all of something. So the bags are just, here's a ton of one thing. Here's 27 bananas in a bag, which is the largest quantity of bananas I ever got out of one of those bags, which is a lot of bananas. But every once in a while they do mixed ones, and every once in a while the mixed ones actually look decent. Some of the stuff they throw in there, they obviously are just trying to get rid of. It's too gnarly even for me. Okay. I think I know what I'm doing. Let's see. People were answering my questions. Beyond Beef Burger Meal. But so far you've eaten just the fries. Well, hang on to the rest of it. I find that a burger, I've done this before, where if you get like those 2-for-1 deals, I'll get 2 and I'll eat 1 and I'll wrap the other one up. If you tightly wrap it in paper, so not plastic wrap, but in a paper wrap, put it in the fridge, like the wax paper that a thing comes in is perfect for it. They'll be mostly good the next day. They don't last super long, but they'll be mostly good the next day, and you can warm them up gently. And the paper prevents the bun from getting really soggy. Whereas if you sealed it away in plastic, any moisture from the contents of your sandwich will make the bread go like bleh. Again, they don't last super long, but that's my tip there. Beef birria tacos. Hard to find good stuff in the UK. We made birria at least once on camera. I've made it myself at least 3 times here. It's not that hard to make. I think the tricky bit in England, in the UK, would be finding the peppers, because it's not just the standard hot peppers. There's particular kinds of peppers that are meant to be used to get the flavor profile to come out just right. So I think I want to fry these into like potato pucks. I think that's the plan there. I'm not sure if I want to do that with the rest of them. You could even use the beef dripping for it. I feel like once we get to the cooking phase, things are going to go real fast. Let's revisit our salad briefly. I don't know how well you can see it, but it has become wet. There's wet forming in our salad mix here from the salt extracting moisture from these things, which causes them to soften up. I don't want to let that go too long because I also want to vinegar this, because I'm going for a sour. I'm kind of going for Swedish pizza salad, if you're familiar, because I think that is an excellent thing. But that's made with cabbage. We're making this with kohlrabi. The last time I made Swedish pizza salad, I made it with pizza, and it was too salty. I forgot to rinse the salt off after I did the salting phase. So we don't do that this time. We rinse it off before we add the vinegar. Or perhaps we use vinegar to rinse it off, and then we rinse away that vinegar and add more flavoring vinegar. One of the ways, this is going to turn into a pizza salad. Kinda. The vinegar should also help with the extraction of some herbs, but I don't want to add any herbs to it until after I've rinsed the salt. That was my one big mistake, was not rinsing the salt. It was way too salty. But I like the idea. If you've never had pizza salad, it's a thing the Swedes do that they serve with pizza. And it's just kind of like a very basically dressed slaw with some vaguely Italian herbs thrown in. And it's really good. It's so simple and so basic, and it's such a good complement to greasy, fatty things like pizza. It goes really well with a greasy, fatty pizza. And I think it would go really well with a piece of steak that has a big gnarly piece of fat on the one side. What am I? I've got my meat and 2 veg. The second veg is also a starch, so I think we're gonna have a pretty basic thing. I should think about. I'm gonna show you guys something real quick. I found a plate. I've got a moment to just nonsense with you. I've got a plate. Oops, no, we're on the right angle anyways. No, this one. I've got a plate, this plate here, that I had to buy because it's so shocking when you look at it. I don't know what I'm going to use it for. We could use it potentially today. Oh, it doesn't quite jump quite as much because the lines blur together on the camera in the middle. But wowee, wowee! It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't entirely know what you're supposed to serve on it, other than use it as a standard plate. Had to get this one. It was like $2. Had to get this plate. It makes you want to put something right in the middle. It's almost hard to look at the line with the lines. It's a it's quite the thing. It's quite the thing. I don't need more plates. But sometimes one just leaps out at you. I feel like it's not appropriate for what I'm serving today. I don't know when it's going to be appropriate. Don't know when that's going to be appropriate. But eventually we're going to be like, yes, perfect. You have to leave the middle visible. That sounds scary. Don't want to see the middle. The middle is the scariest part. Our steak has started to heat up. Oops. We are at... Oh gosh, it was easier to see when it was down here. Because the light was hitting it. 29 out of our target 49. I gotta take it out. We gotta rest it. And then we're gonna fry the potato pieces. We could probably get those started. I don't want to cook things too far apart because I want them to all be hot when I serve them. So actually, we should think about the plate we want to serve this stuff on. We should also think about a sauce. It just occurred to me that there's no sauce at the moment. At all. What am I going to do for something? Because the potatoes are going to be naked. The salad will be fine, but I feel like there should be some kind of I have to serve this dish on that plate, no debate. Okay, well, Misha's putting the foot down. Misha loves this plate. I'll keep it handy. We also have the plate I used last week, which is less shocking but more generally usable. Looks like this. Okay, I'm keeping the lined plate handy. It looks like this. Gives you that sort of off-center swoop without having to do it yourself. This one I quite like. We're going to use this one, I think, frequently. It's also a black circle that isn't shiny or golf ball-y. So we can do stuff with that. Misha's a troll. This one. this camera, being a better camera, picks up those lines going into the middle even better. So that piece of meat is going to be sliced up kind of, unless I go radical and make something completely different. I'm sorry, we're changing gears entirely. We're no longer cooking a steak. No, no. I'm suddenly having a brain thing, like a headache, but with pictures, for which we need boiling water. Pot of water. I don't want to fry these. I'm changing my mind. We're doing something completely different with them. We're making mash. And I have a plating in mind all of a sudden. These were cut fairly thin, so they should all. So, sweet potatoes in the cold water, heat on. A little bit of salt. Oops, I keep pushing the wrong buttons. So we're doing that in the back corner over there. They're going to boil away. We're going to boil them until they're soft. We're going to make mash out of those. It's making crackling noises. Probably there's water on the bottom of the pot. If we're making some mash, some mash, some butter, some sour cream. Ooh, sour cream, sweet potato mash. Okay. All right. Sometimes we stop and have a complete rethink of what we're doing with our lives midstream. Our meat is at 38, so we're getting there. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. If we do mash, I could even throw in some cabbage. I'm constructing a thing where instead of these being separate elements on the plate, they are a combined element with the steak on top of the mash with the kohlrabi salad, kind of like a poke bowl or a donburi, but with potato at the bottom. But if we're doing that, then the mash is going to be sort of tucked away underneath, and I almost think I want a third topping element. What have I got? I've got cabbage, I've got red pepper, I've got a lot of sriracha. If you're new here, you might not remember when I foolishly consumed almost 40 bottles of sriracha and had a bad day. Okay. Our juice is getting quite juicy at the bottom there and turning orange. I'm going to give this a rinse, and I think we're going to go on to the vinegar stage. Cold water rinse, please. Because I don't want it to be... So we're kind of doing a quick pickle. You aren't going to be able to see this. I just filled the bowl with water, and then I'm going to use my hand to prevent the veggies from falling out of the bowl as I tip the water out. I just lost a piece of carrot. Okay. We lost one of our strands of carrot. I could not save it. It is gone. It is gone. Okay. So if we're doing mash, we're going to have meat on top. We're going to have... Then we really want a sauce because we want to do like a drizzle over the top. Of like a beef fat sauce? Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Because we're going to have a lot of partially rendered beef fat. We can use that. We can construct a little bit of a sauce. Maybe we can do a cream sauce. We could also beef it up and really like beef in on the beef sauce with the beefiness. Ooh, I'm running low on powdered oregano, or flaked oregano. I'm adding dried herbs to this. We could add some fresh basil, actually. I've got fresh basil growing right outside the door there. So a little bit of dried oregano, a little bit of dried basil. We could throw in some fresh basil. We've got some cracked black pepper. We're going to give it the smallest pinch of salt, since I rinsed off the salt. Our potatoes are boiling. Ooh, 5 spice. Also, hi, Ryuyu. I don't know if you were already here, but I didn't see you amidst all the chaos earlier. 5 spice. Yes. I gotta trust Ryu's instincts more often. We're gonna throw in a little bit of 5 spice powder. And then we're gonna throw in our vinegar. All of it. Dentist. Gotcha. Well, welcome, welcome. Hope the teeth are in good shape. Let's see, vinegar and a little bit of sesame oil. We're making a salad, it's sort of an Asian Italian salad. Juicy salad. Get that out of the way. How's it going, Ryu? Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. This is our salad, Kohlrabi salad, which I am constructing in the style of a Swedish pizza salad because I think that will be very good with our meat, our steak, which is at 47 degrees internal. So we're going to pull it really soon. It's going to beep and it's going to tell me to take it out, and we're not going to hesitate. Which means I need to get this stuff stirred around and then off my hands. What we really don't want to do is overcook that steak. Let's pull a trivet out in advance. We'll bring it right over here. Our sweet potatoes are boiling vigorously. They were cut pretty small, so they shouldn't need a ton of time. I do want them to be pretty tender, so I'm going to probably do them after the steak comes out. And then, yeah, thinking about a sauce, thinking about a potential additional topping. We're at 48 degrees. We're going to beep in just a moment. Let's slide over. That's our beep. Out comes our, ooh, yes, actually, off, please. Actually, for as I have diced mushrooms for this tank. No, I don't. We're constructing this in kind of a bowl form now, so almost a donburi, rather than separated on the plate. The heat, I think, has done a really good job of getting the fat end starting to render and soften up, which is the part I was worried about. And my test run steak yesterday, which, I know, test run steak, the fat cap was the part I was most concerned about, or it had a tough time softening up. It was very, very chewy in a way that I don't like. That is blazing hot, and I want to not burn my hand. So, it also should cool down very quickly because it is just a thin piece of metal. So, we just let it go for a moment. Hold our steak. There we go. Cool enough to touch in just not even a minute there. We'll bring our steak over here. And we'll take a look at it. So we've tested our temperature. It is currently extremely rare on the inside, at least where the probe was. Obviously a little bit more than that on the outside. Still got a really good squish to it. Kind of pallid on the side that was down. Some decent drippings. I don't think we're going to have to trim this thing. We still could because it's kind of on the thick side. But I don't think we'll have to. We can also press that into the pan a little bit when we're giving it the sear. It needs to rest up. Yeah, and it's already, that using the small tray I think was a good idea because it's already cooled off to the point where I can handle it without the thingies. You know, the thingies that are a word that is very common known word. Oven mitts. Hot holders. Our potatoes are boiling vigorously and trying to foam over. That's a sign to me that there's a lot of starch in the water, and a sign that I want to get them out of said water. move stuff, because we're going to need them to be mashed. Pot holder, that is the word. That's the word. See, I knew I would remember it all on my own with no help. Thank you, Jinxie. I forgot to thank people for all those follows. We have no call-out follows because I have to remember to look at the thing and call you out if I want to. So thank you for all those follows from King Argaroth's raid earlier. I only just looked over and saw them. Do we think we can mash effectively with this thing? We've had difficulty with it in the past. Okay. It's a ricer, yes. It works great for standard potatoes, but anything that's even a little bit fibrous kind of fights back too much for the ricer to be able to push it through. It's super good at the things it's good at and kind of falls short on the things it's not. These guys should be okay. They look pretty borderline mushy, so that's a good sign. They were cut quite thin because I was initially not intending to do this with them, so I cut them extra thin. So, should be fine. Should be fine. That was the problem we had with the, oh, what was it? It was another root. It was a, I'm blanking. It was a root and we had a really big fight with it. What was it? What was that root we had a big fight with? I'm going to have to go back to my own archives and look. It was tasty. It was a delicious root. It was a delicious root, but my cooking failed because we had to boil it for like 3 times longer than I expected in order to get it tender enough to mash. Celery root. It was celeriac. It was celeriac. Turns out you have to boil the crap out of celeriac to get it to mash. We did it with turnip as well, but I was thinking of the most recent one, which was celeriac. That one gave us a time. Oops, you guys are still over there. Don't be over there, be over here. So we're going to mash that into this bowl. And then we're going to add stuff to it. The celeriac, that's what else was in that bag of roots. The celeriac came out of that bag of roots. That was the other root that was in there. So that shows you how long this particular potato has been sitting around here, because that was 2 weeks ago. That works perfectly. Oh, a moisten from Glacier. Un momento. Because when I set this down, I'm gonna I dropped a chunk. It's definitely soft enough. So this works for the potato style potatoes, and it has a much harder time with, dang it, much harder time with anything that's got some fiber to it. I need a spatula to do some scraping. I also dropped that tongs on the floor, directly on the floor. Hi, Glacier. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for the moisten. I feel like we used to get a lot more moistens, and we've fallen off on that lately. That's not as much as I had envisioned in my mind space, in my brainium. Okay, well, that tongs is just going in the sink, and I will grab the fresh tongs. I didn't even get a glass of water out. I didn't even get a glass of water out today. That's how cavalier I've become about moistening. I've got to find my glass from earlier in the day and put water in it because I drank all the water. I used to always have a glass ready to go just in case people did the moistens. Moist. So what we have here now is Mexican style sour cream, aged crema. Which is so much better, in my opinion, so much better than the European style sour cream. That's that thick, almost like paste yogurt consistency stuff. This stuff being pourable is just a delight. Okay, well, we might not have enough sweet potato here to do maybe. If we do a shallow bowl, for sure. If we do a shallow bowl, for sure we can pull this off. In fact, we might even be able to use a plate. We're also going to taste this. You can't even get sour cream. Well, then I must be thinking of American style sour cream, which is much. It comes in like a tub, and you have to spoon it out. It's very thick. Mexican sour cream, which they call crema, but crema agria, aged. Because you can also just get crema, which is table cream, which is also fermented, but only just a little bit. And in fact, if you hang on to it for a while, it turns into the aged stuff. But I really love the fact that it's pourable, which standard American sour cream is not. It is very thick. It is like the consistency of a Greek yogurt. Did my lights just flicker? Did any of you see that? Oh, that's nothing. Check the back. They didn't do any construction today. I was expecting them to turn up. Needs salt. Not a ton, though. Glad we salted the water. Yeah, no, we're just going to stir that in. Okay. A little bit less potato than I initially envisioned, but that's workable. That's workable. I will just have to make this more of a flat and less of a bowl. Oh, some of it's sticking to my spatula, which makes it seem like I have even less. Okay. We need something green. We need something green to make this plate pop. Because at the moment I've got orange, white, purple, and we're about to have brown and red. Maybe. Hopefully. Fingers crossed that it's red and not just all brown. And some kind of a sauce. Green element. An herb oil. Like a blended herb oil might be good. What if I... Now that time I definitely saw the lights flicker. What the heck happened? Well, if we lose power, I don't know why we'd lose power. It's a beautiful sunny day. Blue skies as far as the eye can see out there. If we lose power suddenly, I don't know what else I can do about it. But that's weird. My lights definitely flickered that time. I saw at least one little blip. Creme fraiche. It's one of those things where the same basic idea has been done multiple times all around the world, and they're slightly different, but not so radically different that you wouldn't recognize them. Okay. What if I do an herb oil? Like, what's it called? A link to my Discord. Oh, that's right. I didn't put that at the top today. I was being because I screwed up my own Go Live and accidentally posted the Go Live early. So then I just scrambled. And we'll pin it as well. There we go. Bright green herb oil, and then you strain it out, right? It's real basic stuff. You just blend the crap out of. This device. Scissors. Did I throw them in the... No, I didn't throw them in the sink. Oh. Scissors. We're going to go cut some fresh herbs. So I will be back. Well, I can talk to you while I'm doing it. Because they're right outside. They're right here. We're going to cut some fresh herbs. What are we going to cut? What are we going to cut? We're going to cut a basil. We're going to cut another basil. Ooh, sage. Let's cut a sage. I think that's going to be an interesting addition to an herb mix. Let's cut a shiso. That's going to be a fun one. And a clump of parsleys. Clump of parsley. My parsley's going crazy out here. I need to cut and use more parsley, just in general. Anything else I want? Anything else I want from the nonsense out here? No, I don't think so. We're back. We're back. Handful of herbs from the garden. This basil was bolting a little bit, so I could definitely cut that one. The basil's been doing well. I think I will have dried basil this time. Last year I didn't get any dried basil. My basil did quite poorly last summer. The thing I'm making has a name that I don't remember. And basil, and other basil, and sage. I think sage is going to be an interesting addition. I only grabbed one large sprig of sage. It was a vibration. Oh, the sage is very... Whoa. The sage is very aromatic. We only want the leaves, we don't want the stems today. My memory keeps failing me. You'll notice it does that a lot. As for all the things that I can just call to mind in an instant, there's just as many things that I completely fall flat and have no idea what I'm talking about. Sometimes the same thing will fall into both categories. A little bit of dirt on that one. Get rid of that. And the most interesting one of our herb mix here, my red shiso. This is the plant. If you're a recent joiner of the fun around here, this is the plant that my old neighbor's old girlfriend had planted in a pot that escaped into the back alley there and was just growing and reseeding itself freely. And it was gradually getting killed off because it was growing in the alley. So it was getting mowed, it was getting driven on, it was all sorts of like not doing great. And when there was just a couple little sprigs of it left, I dug them out, put them in pots, and let them go to seed. And let me tell you, the things are frickin' everywhere now. I've given them to my friends. They just kind of spread. They die off in the winter, but they produce such huge quantities of seeds that they're extremely easy to reseed every year. And they mostly come up in the lawn around wherever they were last year. because the seeds just kind of fall out. We're going to go for the full half cup. They're not that hard to kill off, as it turns out, though. That was the problem I was having, is to get rid of them, all you really need to do is mow them regularly, and they will stop. They also don't, like, the individual plants don't spread, they just grow straight up. They spread in that the plant, if it goes to seed, shoots seeds all over the place. They're related to mint and basil, but the flavor is hard to describe. It's a Japanese herb, and coincidentally, my mother was digging around and found this. This is the plant right here. Red perilla, aka shiso, aka hiso, aka shiso, akashiso. Aka, I believe, means red, akashiso. This is it. Now this one, I doubt the seeds are still good. This was freshly hand-picked for season 2018. But this is it. So I guess if you want to try it yourself, check out these people, because they have the seeds. But that's the stuff right there. It's an interesting herb. It's tasty. It's hard to describe. In the past, what I've described it as is it's like mint, but with none of the mintiness, just the flavor. Sorry, I'm being quiet because this is loud to me, but usually these things aren't loud to you. I never can tell. There. That should be an herby thing. The automatic sound gate, I've never customized the sound gate. The automatic sound gate on my microphone is always better than I'm expecting. It kind of filters out the worst of these mechanical noises, even though they're quite loud for me, and I don't want to talk over them because I feel like I have to shout. We do that with the food processor. You guys always say, oh, I can hardly even hear it, but it's really loud for me. It has the flavor profile of like mint, but none of the coolingness, none of that menthol element. That's how I've described it. It's not exactly the same. It's really kind of its own thing. We're going to taste that. That needs a couple of little additions. If you have ever had packaged sushi, the little green plastic grass that they put in the packaging with it is meant to, people think it's grass, it's meant to look like the ruffled edges of a leaf of green shiso, which have that sort of deeply ridged edge to them. And in a fancier sushi place, they will serve the sushi on a leaf of green shiso, which not only looks good, but it gently adds a very little bit of fragrance to the piece of sushi. That's a thing. I've seen that. I don't have the green kind. I only have the red kind. So I've added a little bit of salt and a little bit of vinegar to my herb stuff here to turn it into more of a dressing and less of a just herb flavored oil. Okay. That stuff is done, I think. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. No, it's it could honestly use probably a little bit more herbs. But it's light. It's not as green as I was hoping. It kind of ungreened a little bit. We need to cook the steak. The steak has rested for too long at this point. We need to cook this steak. So, pan on, heat on. Steak at the ready. Tongs at the ready. Place to rest the steak, not ready. When it comes off of there, we need to rest it. We're going to rest it on the bamboo board, because then we can also cut it on the bamboo board. Okay. I know, I'm losing people. No, I'm not losing people. I've lost you all. I was hoping that'd be a little bit more green. Maybe we'll cut some chives and throw some fresh chives for that really bright. Have I decided on the plate yet? I have not. I think... I have not. Ray has a pretty good handle on what plates we have. What do you think? I'm thinking wide and shallow because I wanted to put the mash as a bed. And there's not quite enough of it to do like a deep bowl. We could do this guy. He's kind of a shallow bowl. Mish obviously wants the new plate, the madness-inducing lines. The madness-inducing lines that are making the camera even go a little wonky. A rectangle plate. A square plate or the actual rectangle plate? We do have this rectangle. It's not really what I was envisioning. There's wisps coming off of my pan, so we are going in with the meat. I'm actually going to start it on the fat cap side. To, again, try to push that fat cap as much as I can. That's the only one I've got. I was initially going to do a things plated side by side deal, and when I made the decision to switch to mash, I switched that idea to having them stacked up instead. So I was thinking of shooting for a more like stacked up dish. Okay. Heat up, ripping hot. We want this ripping hot. I think we want this angled like that so that I can do this. Because I think we could probably baste this in its own drippings. It's gonna get smoky in here too. I'm not one of those people who says you can only flip your steak once. I am gonna go ahead and just flip it as many times as I feel like it needs. The sizzle is quite loud, and it's also spitting quite a bit. I'm trying not to ruin this steak, so I'm gonna pretty much ignore you guys while I'm working on it. You can't feel the spit at all. I guess I'm not ignoring you guys because I just responded directly to something you said. Okay, we started out with it rare in the middle. Ooh, look at that side. Ooh, that side looks great. I probably am gonna. I think I'm gonna kill the heat. Let it go a little bit on the bottom side, and then take it off and let it rest. I think that's gonna be our end point. I really don't want it to be ruined. It wasn't like a massively expensive steak. That's one of the beauties of the Picanha, is that it's not a massively expensive steak. But I'd still rather not spoil it. We don't have steak very often around here, and I don't have steak very often around here. Okay, it's off. It's off. It looks good. The top side looks really good. We should tent it, right? You can tell how often I do steaks. I don't know the basics of staking. but give it a little tent to help it not. Be weird. Just a little tent. In which case, we are definitely on the point of thinking about plating. Which plate am I looking at? Which plate am I looking at? Which plate am I looking at? Perhaps that one. Ooh, it did get smoky in here. We could go for the square one with the lines. The orange potato will definitely pop out against that. I worry that it'll make our green dressing look more brown, being alongside the brownish plate. We've always got the golf ball. Orange and white. You know which ones we don't use very often because of the slight awkwardness of color is the olive pattern ones. And they have kind of a shallow dish to them, so we could what do you guys think? This one? This one? Or this one? We're going to have bright orange as well as orange and white on the plate. So dark colors could work for that, but the steak is also going to be relatively dark. Radio votes against the brown plate. We never use the brown plates. You think the black one is too deep of a bowl? I have a shallower black one, if black is what you're thinking. I have black as a more of a shallow plate. It's actually the same size as the lines bowl. I think the lines is ever so slightly larger. I do not have a square black plate. I have a square white plate, and I have the square lined plate, which is sort of a tan. I've got this one. Which my one concern there is that this color isn't dramatically green. I was hoping it to come out a little bit greener than it did. And the plate here won't contrast with it quite as well. Although if I mix it up, the green herbs sort of rise to the top, so maybe I just need to stir it before I serve it. There's also the other new plate, which was the swoopy one, which we used last week, and I really enjoy. I quite like it. Oh, and I need to wash it because apparently I had grease on my fingers, because now there's greasy fingerprints all over it. A decision needs to be made. And I need to be the one to make it because I am in charge of the nonsense. Swoopy moon plate. Swoopy moon plate. Yeah, okay. We'll work out what to do with this guy some other time. Smother time. The time of smother. I mean, white's the classic. We could also just go for white. Okay. Well, this plate then takes us back towards having sort of things be next to each other. Which means that way. That way. Steak mash slaw, or steak mash salad. Trying to figure out how to put the mash on the plate without just making it a heap. But I think we might just be stuck with it being kind of a heap. Kind of a heap. Our salad, which I will taste for saltiness. It needs vinegar. It already has vinegar, but it needs some more. Crunchy. Oh, it's down there. There you go. Nice handful of juicy salad. And then the main event. That steak should have rested long enough. We're gonna cut into it and find out how well I've done the cook. We're gonna move some stuff out of the way. There he is, the main event. He looks really good. Nice crust on the top. The bottom has gotten better. We're getting out the long slicer, and we're getting out the honing rod. We're going to hone it up just before use to make sure it's real sharp. You don't want to saw through these things. And let's do this away from the food. You want a really sharp blade, and you want one that's long enough that you don't do a sawing motion. Ideally, you only have to go through it one direction, like a pulled direction, to get your thing cut. I don't have a slicer that's quite that long, so I typically go with a double motion, where I go one, and that's it, and then that should be a slice. So it should be just that simple. Or do I do it? I do a bias, right? We do a bias cut here. Yes! 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 Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful in there. Guys, I did it. Guys, I did it. It didn't ruin a steak. Oh, that is exactly the color I was looking for, and there's a lot of it. It's not like it's just a little nugget in the middle. Fellas, would you look at that nonsense? Would you look at that nonsense? I'm going to leave the back end of it unsliced. Oh, it came out beautifully. It came out beautifully. I'm going to leave the back end of it unsliced for plating purposes. And then we're going to sort of fan this. Oh, that is exactly what I want to see. That's the level of doneness I like in a steak. I don't like them rare. I like them this. It's maybe a tiny bit on the medium side, but the fact that it's so much of it, there's not just a little bit in the middle, means that's what I'm looking for. Sous vide is a more reliable way of doing this. All right. Licking the drippings off my fingers. So there you can see the hole. You can see the hole running through it from where I put the probe in. Sous vide is definitely a slightly more reliable way of accomplishing the same thing. But the downside of sous vide is because it is in the heat for so much longer, softer pieces of meat, I'm putting the drippings right over the top of it. You guys cannot stop me. Softer pieces of meat can go kind of mushy, so sous vide only really is appropriate for pieces of meat that have a little bit of structure to them. This cut, I think, would be good for that. I do. So if you can get a hold of a picanha yourself, give it a go. We are going to attempt to very gently drizzle our green herb stuff right across. And I'm putting a little on top of our potatoes as well. So kind of, this ended up being like a very heavily blended chimichurri almost, which is not what I was going for initially, but it's what I'm using it as. And there's our plate. Gosh, that looks good. Gosh, that looks good. I'm going to take a picture of this so that I can dig in right away, because I absolutely want to get to that steak before it gets any older. Oh, it's real tasty. Just from the drippings. All right, I didn't just take a bite in the other room. It's really doing it for me. Okay, coming back. Coming back, returning. Let's get rid of the slicer and let's get out. Well, we shouldn't need a knife for the steak on the plate. We should just need a fork. So which one should we try first? I kid. We are definitely trying the steak first, and we're going to start with this one here. I'm just going to eat with my fingers. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Mmm. That's a very good steak. I think the only thing I would change is that I rested it for too long. I think I would rest it less time. Be more on top of my timings and not have it sit on the side while I was doing other things for quite so long. The herbs, give it some character. The fat is nice and tender. Not like chewy, bouncy. That's what I was trying to avoid. These big, thick pieces. Inhaled. Inhaled something. These big, thick fat caps can have a hard time rendering. And if they don't render through properly, they get really kind of chewy to the point of being bouncy because it's that hard fat. This stuff is not like completely melt in your mouth tender, but it's rendered past that resistance phase. So you chew it, you know it's there, but your teeth just go right through it, which is right where I want it. This is a very decadent meal. I love that my local grocery store has been carrying this cut of meat. If you've got a butcher, you could ask them for this. It's the picanha. It's got good marbling. The big fat cap means there's a lot of fat to work with for keeping the flavor up. If you've got the one cut so that the cap is at like a wider one, so the cap is at the top, it'll render down into it. If you do something like smoke it, it's a more of a budget cut than, say, your New York strip or your ribeye. And I think mostly just because it's less known, less famous than those. It's definitely fatty and rich. So ideally, you pair it with something crispy and fresh and acidic. Oh, like coughing made my nose drip for a moment there. That is way better than the last time I made pizza salad and I oversalted it. It's bright, it's crunchy. You can taste the dried herbs. They give you that distinct dried herb flavor, which I think goes really well in something like this. The salting phase means that although it's crunchy, they're tender crunch. They've got a tender crunch to them. You're not just crunching through a bunch of raw vegetables. It's especially nice for the onions, which can be quite harsh if you eat them straight up raw. But the salting draws out some of the harsher things, giving them a quick rinse. All the little things we did. The vinegar as well. Take the edge off. Sorry, I'm just enjoying. I'm enjoying this one a lot. Not quite as smooth as a riced standard white potato. But the sour cream, do this in the future, or if you've got creme fraiche, use that. A dairy with a little bit of tang to it, a little bit of more to it. Especially in something like this where it's sweet potato, so it has more sugar to work with. It really gives you some complexity to the flavor. This stuff is creamy. I'm not sure the herbs are the best choice. They look nice as a contrast. I think you could eat this without, eating-wise, you could eat this without the herbs and be perfectly happy. You always cook onions because you're allergic to raw onions. Oh, that's tragic. Especially for red onions. Red onions are like the raw onion. The raw onion eater's onion. Garlic butter. I don't think I would even do any kind of a topping. You maybe include some garlic butter in the mix, but even then, I think just having the tang of the soured cream is enough to sort of set this off. A little bit of garlic, actually, a little bit of garlic in here would have been really good. We should have done that. Go back. So those of you following along and doing this nonsense, go back and put one small clove of garlic in this to make it a little bit more garlicky. Because there's no garlic on this plate, actually, at all. Some garlic powder also might have been good in the salad. What we kind of made is this. Oil, vinegar, garlic, spices. They doesn't tell you what the spices are, but they are spices. And it's meant to be served on steak. As you can see, I got this one for $1. I don't know what more to say about this this plate of food. It's really delicious. The steak is just perfect for me. This is the steak I want. I'm not a huge steak eater. This is the one for me, for sure. And it's one you can't really get at steakhouses here in the U.S., at least not the ones around me, because it's not one of the standard cuts. So when I'm at a steakhouse, I usually get a chicken fried steak. Anyways, I think that's our show for today. Double check I haven't forgotten anything. Nope. I think that's our show today. So let's find a place to raid you guys off to. Also, I tried something different with my hair this time. What do you think? It kind of, full disclosure, I slipped a little on the side, so I did both sides. I did it myself. I don't hate it, but it's a little unusual. Let's see who's on to potentially raid. Cooking stream, cooking stream, cooking stream, cooking stream, cooking stream. Following stream. LaFay is on. Mom is on. Mom's got fresh tomatoes. Maybe we should go see Fresh Tomatoes with Mom. Chef JT is doing a 6-year stream anniversary. What do you guys think? Where should we go? Oh, Rui's on top for the messages. Dancing Dinos if you're not a sub. Little Smiling Jupiters if you are. Let's go share the love with Chef JT because it is his streamiversary today. We'll go see what he's doing. He cooks much more frequently than me. I often see him on during the week. He's got some good ideas. Looks like a lot of citrus today. Not sure how that's incorporating into chicken and biscuits, so I guess we'll find out. Thank you guys so much for turning up, as always, sticking with me, as always. Thanks to King Argaroth for the raid. Thanks to a list of King Argaroth's raiders for the follows. If you're not following, jump on in. I won't call you out because at the moment I can't even see that thing because there's a raid panel in front of it. Yeah, I, as always, have no specific plans, but we do now have some additional steaks from the same pack of steaks, so we could do another steak thing. We could experiment since I seem to have nailed that one. Otherwise, I'll see you. I'll see you around the internet verse. This place. This place. Yeah, awkward. Let me shrink into the distance awkwardly while I wave at you. Bye.